It's so windy today. We'll see how the audio turns out for this. Hello and welcome to my art blog. Today I am going to try and learn how to use gouache. If you don't know, gouache is a painting medium that is super pigmented and is also water soluble. That means when you lay it down on the page, you can lift it back up. The aspect of gouache that I really like is how creamy it is. When you blend gouache, the effect that it gives is so different from other I think maybe oil paints have a similar sort of like creaminess to them when they're blended together, but I really love how gouache looks. I have tried on numerous occasions to work with gouache to figure out how it works, and for the life of me, I cannot get the hang of it. So today, I want to learn how to work with gouache. This morning, actually, I came across a video by Sarah Burns Studio, which is a beginner-friendly, essentially intro to gouache, and I thought we could go through it together and see if, finally, I can understand how to use this medium. Let's try to learn some gouache.
So the first thing I do is paint a couple simple circles.
This paint is super wet, so it's gonna lay, oh yeah, that's really nice. It's laying on really nice and opaque. I don't know how much water to use for gouache usually, because I'm used to using quite a decent amount of water for watercolor.
So the shadow color goes on the bottom side, the highlight color goes on the top side. And then, while it's all still wet, I will use a damp brush and I will push and pull the pigment around the sphere.
Let me get a touch of white in there. Oh, the white is too wet. Oh no, it's already blending. Oh no.
So using gouache wet into wet is a big challenge because if you're not careful and you use too much water, you can actually lift the paint right off the page and reveal the paper below.
Okay, so already this experiment has hit a roadblock. This was supposed to be the wet base to try painting on. Oh my god, okay. It is not quite wet anymore. It's looking really bad already. So I think I'm gonna stop that one. Let's go. Okay, put some shadows in there. Okay, that's still wet. And some highlights up here. There you go. Oh, that looks cool. I do want to leave a little bit of the shadow still pretty strong, I think. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I don't think it looks nearly as good as the demonstration. However, I should also remind myself that I'm not nearly as good as the demonstrator. Can you overwork gouache? I actually don't know. This used to be this color, and now it is mostly pinks and purples. Oh, okay. I'm stopping now. And I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. That's it. Okay, I've stopped. It looks ugly. I don't like it. Okay. Just a little more shadow on the bottom. You know what? I actually don't dislike this as much. Even though it's quite patchy, there is a gradient, which I think is better than what it was like a second ago. So that's something. Now let's look at how to do wet on dry.
And then for the dried circle on the left, I'll show you how you can just place some dark color on the bottom and light color on the top right, as the same way we did in the wet example, but you'll see it just lays on kind of chunky looking. And the whole point of this is to show how forgiving gouache is and how you don't need to rush at all.
I feel like it's gonna end up pretty much similar to how this one went, in that I'm gonna apply too much paint, and then I'm gonna panic, and then I'm gonna keep adding more paint, and then it's gonna just get so messy. There is a difference, like you can immediately see that the color is just kind of sitting on top. Oh, that's a very bright white. Yeah, this is a lot more controlled. Like immediately I can tell that I'm not panicking. trying to get it to look blended. Like I'm not picking up too much pigment from below. The blue on the bottom is essentially unmoved. It's like, it is literally just sitting there. Oh my god, you can look at the difference between the pigments here. That's crazy. This one is so much brighter. It's like way less muddy, and you can see that I haven't overworked it. Oh, that looks pretty good. Okay, maybe the way I need to go is wet on dry, and maybe that's really where it's at for me. Oh, I'm actually having so much fun right now. This is actually so fun, and I'm so glad that I sat down and tried to figure out how to get this to work. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave that there.
So again, paint 2 circles. One of them we will work wet into wet, and the other one will be dry.
And now I'm gonna try not to panic while I paint wet on this one. Yeah, you can immediately see that it's picking up the paint from below. Man, it's windy right now. Touch of the white again. It's not as pigmented anymore, or like the color is not as vibrant, which I do dislike. I think I am overworking the paint. I don't know if that's the concept in gouache. Yeah, that's looking better, right? Yeah, it's so fascinating. Like, it really isn't blending at all right now because it's fully dry. That's cool. You can see how bright this is still comparatively to the wet on wet. It's like when you say a word too many times, it loses its meaning. I feel like I've started this for so long, I cannot tell if that is correct or not. Let me try to fix this one. I guess my main takeaway is, how do you know when to stop? How do you know when you've done enough? Here's the finished pieces. I don't exactly know how to feel about it. On the one hand, it is not as good as I would like it to be. I absolutely would prefer if I could blend them better. But I will say, I do think this is probably the best I've done with gouache since I've started attempting gouache. So it is better than everything I've been able to do so far combined, but it's not as good as I would like. But that is like, it's not gonna be as good because this is the first time that I'm actually following like a tutorial and trying to make this as good as I can. Now, onto the branch.
My first pass doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I don't really want it to be. The sole purpose of this first layer is to set us up for the next 2, to give us a base to work on top of.
Alright, it's not quite looking like a branch, is it? It's not looking like a branch. Should I stop that one and do a different one? I started this anyway at kind of the top of the page. I'm gonna leave that and I'm gonna attempt a second branch over here. Second branch, save me second branch. Does this look like anything? I really don't know. That's horrible. What is this? That's a horrible branch. Oh, that looks pretty nice. I think with the moss, this is starting to look more like a branch. Ooh! Whoa! Oh my god, it's so windy. Okay, that looks like a branch to me. I don't know how that happened. Nowhere during the process of painting this did I think this was going to end up looking like a branch, but you know what? It looks like a branch, so not bad. I think this tutorial has been extremely helpful. I've learned so much about blending and layering gouache, and I'm genuinely astounded by this branch. I don't know how it looks like a branch. It doesn't make sense to me. I think I'll stop here for today. Tomorrow I want to come back and paint something by myself without looking at a tutorial and see if I can't apply all of the stuff that I've learned. It's day 2 and I'm gonna see if I remember anything that I learned yesterday. I was trying to figure out what I could paint, and I really wanted to paint something from one of the art books that I have, but those are like really elaborate and really detailed pieces, and as beautiful as they are, I don't think that's a challenge that I'm equipped to take on right now. However, I do want to try and replicate some of those in the future. So I just went to Pinterest and I found this. I think this one is simple enough that I shouldn't struggle too hard to paint it. There's definitely a few challenges with this piece, especially the bright orange background. I actually really love that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the painting will look when I layer more colors on top of that background. I already did the sketch. It's very rough. I wasn't too worried about it being clean because gouache is going to cover up all of the pencil marks anyway. Another thing before I start painting is I left my gouache yesterday out to dry. It hasn't dried entirely, but it's definitely in the like tacky stage. I'm going to re-wet all of this to use for painting today, and I'm very curious to see if I can get that same like thick and creamy consistency from a fresh tube of paints, because I haven't really been able to achieve that before. It's always been like flaky and crackly. That could also be because I didn't use as much paint before when I was filling up the palette. I was always pretty conservative with how much paint I took out of the tubes, so this time we'll see if I'm able to reactivate the paint well enough to lay on like really thick coats of paint. I have a little spray bottle that I use for my watercolors as well, and I'm just gonna go over all of these paints. Oh, okay, so I think I need to give the paints a second to soak up that water because it's very gloopy right now. Okay, that's a very messy first layer. I definitely ended up adding way more paint than I needed. That's the first layer done. I actually think I will let this dry all the way before I start adding any other colors to it. Oh yeah, the water is sunk in and you can definitely see that it's not really as goopy anymore. That's good to know. That's really thick actually. I don't know if it needs to be that thick. I think I'm like panicking a little because of how it looks, and I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to blend it all together, even though I know I probably can. I'm going to leave this alone right now. I'm going to let it dry and try and fix it later. Why is it that people tend to use flat brushes for gouache and I think oil paints as well? What's that about? Okay, now only the last pomegranate to finish the base, and then we can get on to actually making it detailed. think I've added too much paint to this. It's too chunky. Like, I don't think it looks too bad. It's just here in this area, I've added way too much paint. Oh, I'm like picking it up actually. I feel like this looks kind of bad now. This might be the wrong thing to do, but I'm just like, can I just take the paint off entirely and start again? Oh, I think I'm doing the wrong thing right now. I'll let that dry, and then I'll try again. The pomegranate is dry by now, and I think I'm going to attempt to paint that again. I think I'll leave that pomegranate as it is. I don't think I can do much to make it better at this point. I don't think it looks horrible. It is actually so exhausting. I think part of it is because it's not coming together as satisfactorily as I would like. I'm so tired. I don't know, it took so much out of me to figure out how to paint this and to do all the layering and stuff. It is probably because this is a medium I'm not used to. Much like the practice ones that I did, I cannot tell if this is okay or not. I don't think it looks great because the background color kind of bleeds into the color of the pomegranates, and I did like that a little about the image that I picked, but that background was a lot more yellow than this one. This one is very red, and that definitely kind of melts in a little bit with the pomegranates. I will say I do think this was a good test run with gouache. I was able to follow along to someone who actually knows what they're doing and finally kind of get some sort of understanding with gouache. I understand better how to use gouache and how to layer it. I'm not good at it. I still get very panicky when things don't look right immediately, and that is something I need to work on. But other than that, I'm very, very grateful that I was able to find a tutorial that was super helpful, super useful. And you know what? It even got me all the way to here, which is more than I would have even tried to attempt like 2 weeks ago. As much as I gripe about and struggle with gouache, I do genuinely love learning about this medium and understanding how it works. Overall, I think with art, it's always so fascinating to figure out how something works and just try and learn it. I'm so bad at it right now, but that's also part of the process. This is part of learning art. This is part of the struggle of trying to get good at anything. I think any skill-based activity, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes practice. And I promise I will practice. I definitely want to attempt to replicate some of the stuff from the art books that I have. There are amazing scenes, and I think if I can even get close to how good they are, I've done it. I've mastered gouache at that point. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you also learned something in the process of this video. And if you have any tips or advice on how to get good at gouache, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate it a lot. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
So if you're just getting started, don't worry, it does get easier.